You and I are talking about the enhanced games today because of all the advertising pushing this new event. They're presenting themselves as this new awesome competition where performance enhancing drugs are welcomed and even celebrated. They're positioning themselves in a very clear contrast to the Olympic Games, which upholds strict anti-doping standards in the name of fairness and athletic safety. So in this video, we're going to look at how the enhanced games may not be the progressive leap they claim to be.
The idea of utilizing performance enhancing substances in sports is actually safe.
When I think of the Olympics, I see humans pushing themselves past the limit, achieving incredible feats naturally. But then I have to ask myself, what does natural really mean? Because today's athletes use electrolyte drinks, protein powders, creatine, energy bars, things that aren't naturally found in the kitchen or growing in a garden. So maybe natural doesn't mean untouched by science, but rather within the bounds of what supports the body, not overrides it. That's the line that the World Anti-Doping Agency, or WADA, tries to protect. WADA was founded in 1999 through a collaboration between the International Olympic Committee and national governments across the world. It's funded and governed by both the sports world and public authorities, which gives it a unique position. It's enforcing the rules for competition and safeguarding public health. Its policies are shaped by scientific research, ethical review, and international consensus. Now, I might have made WADA sound like it's perfect, but it's not. Despite all its controversies, it still remains one of the most trusted authorities in global sport when it comes to anti-doping. So with WADA's guidance, the goal of the Olympics isn't to ban all scientific aid. Instead, it's to identify which interventions unfairly distort competition or pose serious health risks to athletes. The founders of the enhanced games didn't agree with the Olympic philosophy. They saw the International Olympic Committee as corrupt, overly controlling, and failing to properly pay their athletes, all while enforcing rules that limit human performance. From their perspective, they saw the Olympic system as holding back competitors by banning tools of progress. You can really make anything sound good, can't you? Performance enhancing drugs, advanced prosthetics, cutting edge recovery technologies, all of which can redefine what's physically possible. So they came up with a radical alternative.
They're calling it the Enhanced Games, set for next summer, and they plan to let athletes use performance-enhancing drugs like steroids in the competition.
Traditional drug testing is completely eliminated, and the event embraces full bodily autonomy. The CEO, Aaron DeSouza, set the message, my body, my choice, your body, your choice. In their vision, athletes are treated as informed adults who should be free to use scientifically developed substances. The organizers described the Enhanced Games as pro-science, pro-freedom, pro-innovation, a platform that pays athletes fairly and supports a full exploration of enhanced human potential. Sounds like sunshine and rainbows, but then CEO DeSouza says that insurers require that only FDA-approved substances be allowed. Now, that's not a full exploration of human potential. Some substances are banned, and it puts into question their advertising scheme towards the public. That says a lot because these insurance companies calculate risk for a living, and if they're unwilling to back athletes using unapproved and experimental drugs, it's a clear sign of how unpredictable and dangerous these substances can be. So it seems that the enhanced games aren't just about performance, they're also about liability, long-term health effects, and potential legal troubles. Even in a competition that embraces enhancement, there are still limits, and those limits are set by people who would actually have to pay the price if something goes wrong. CEO DeSouza goes on to make a pretty bold statement saying that the Olympics drug testing is only about fairness, not safety. He argues that because the Olympics doesn't mandate universal health screenings, that there's no real concern for athlete well-being, and that the enhanced games with their pre-competition blood tests and heart scans is actually safer. He thinks mandatory blood tests and heart scans make his organization safe, but that's like saying it's safe to drink poison as long as you're getting your vitals checked. The idea that pre-event screenings can protect athletes from the risks of enhancement misunderstands how drug-related harm works, because the serious consequences like heart failure, liver cancer, psychiatric damage, hormonal collapse, these things don't show up on an ECG the night before a race. They take months and years to develop, and you can't scan your way out of long-term damage. So it's pretty wrong to say that anti-doping efforts ignore safety. Drug testing is more than a fairness check. It's a form of preventative medicine that's designed to protect not just performance, but the person behind it. The Enhanced Games calls itself the safest sporting event in the world, but real safety isn't about just what shows up on a monitor, it's about preventing harm before it begins. That's what anti-doping aims to do: protect the athlete, guard the future, and maintain a vision of sport where pushing human potential doesn't mean breaking the human body. Let's take anabolic steroids, a well-known class of banned substances. These are synthetic derivatives of testosterone that promote rapid muscle growth, faster recovery, increased strength, all of which giving athletes a serious edge in the competition. But they also come with major health risks that we've talked about, like heart enlargement and liver toxicity, and they stay hidden until the damage is already done, so early detection is nearly impossible. Focusing past the internal organ damage, there are biomechanical risks that no scan can easily detect. Look at James Magnuson, a former retired Olympic athlete who's now on testosterone, says he gained 10 pounds of muscle in 10 days. Steroids can cause muscle growth to outpace tendons and bones, causing a structural mismatch. When this happens, supporting structures simply can't handle the force generated by the enhanced muscle, causing injuries like tendon ruptures and joint failures to be a whole lot more likely. An athlete might pass all the safety screenings and still be a walking catastrophe, so when the enhanced games suggest that the basic blood work or EKGs can protect athlete safety, they're ignoring all the silent damage that these banned substances can cause in somebody who looks healthy on paper or in person. Aside from all the talk about athlete safety and innovation, the enhanced games is backed by investors who aren't really known for their deep concern of athlete well-being, but for their appetite of profit. These investors are billionaires, venture capitalists, tech futurists. 1789 Capital, co-founded by Donald Trump Jr., markets itself as a champion of anti-woke capitalism, a venture firm explicitly shaped by political ideology rather than ethical oversight. With no ties to healthcare or medical ethics, its investment in the enhanced games looks like it's driven more by cultural disruption and profit than caring about athletes. Our next investor, Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal and Palantir, has a long history of investing in disruptive and often controversial technologies. He's a vocal critic of traditional institutions and tends to back ventures that challenge regulation and take on high risk for the pursuit of high reward. His involvement really emphasizes the enhanced games alignment with techno-libertarian money ideals rather than athlete protection. Balaji Srinivasan, the former Coinbase CTO and a well-known crypto futurist, is all about decentralized and anti-establishment ideas. He often challenges traditional authorities, whether it's medicine, academia, or government, so his support for the enhanced games continues this broader pattern of supporting libertarian experiments that push ethical boundaries under the guise of personal freedom. These aren't people who typically invest in things for the sake of public health. They're drawn to the enhanced games because they're polarizing, provocative, and highly monetizable. It's spectacle as a business, high-stakes media experiment wrapped in all the pseudoscience justifications of freedom of choice and technological progress. Controversy sells. The enhanced games offers a product that's designed to go viral. Enhanced bodies, shocking performances, and an open challenge to one of the most respected institutions in global sport. For investors, the value isn't in safety, it's in attention and cultural disruption. So when these investors talk about creating the safest sporting event, we should ask safe for who? The athlete or their bottom line? Even if we take the enhanced games at their word that they will implement rigorous safety protocols through their blood tests, heart scans, and medical oversight, who exactly is that going to protect? This is a sport for the wealthy, so these safeguards are probably only going to apply to the elite sponsored athletes, the ones with full-time doctors or performance labs. But the spectacle isn't just for them, it's for the millions watching at home. And when these fans, especially the younger athletes, start seeing their idols hit superhuman records and still look shredded, they'll want to join in. The difference is they won't have the same access to resources or oversight, no medical team to monitor their hormones, no cardiologist on call, no support when their bodies start to break down. It's a very appealing illusion that anybody can enhance and be fine as long as they follow the same path. But that path is full of privilege, and the danger is that the young generation grows up thinking this is the standard, that greatness is achieved through enhancement. Many of the substances banned by WADA, like anabolic steroids, beta-2 agonists, or beta blockers, started as legitimate medical treatments. They were developed to address serious health conditions. Steroids are used to stop muscle wasting or hormonal deficiencies. Beta-2 agonists open up the airways of asthma patients, and beta blockers treat hypertension or abnormal heart rhythms. But using them to enhance athletic performance in healthy people is a whole different question that science hasn't answered. That's because these substances were never tested with elite athletes in mind. The research that supports their approval was based on treating disease, not optimizing strength, speed, or precision on already high-functioning bodies. We don't fully understand how they interact with the finely tuned athletic system, or the cardiovascular strain, the tendon integrity, or the hormonal balance, or the mental health over time. That's why we have very little data on what long-term exposure to these drugs does in healthy populations, especially when they're being taken in extraordinary doses, combined with other drugs or taken for years at a time. What we do know is that serious side effects have already been seen in users, so when athletes start experimenting with these drugs in the pursuit of performance, they're stepping beyond the reach of clinical science, and it's more like unregulated human experiments on themselves. Now, there are some positives. The enhanced games can generate data. For the first time, we can see how performance-enhancing drugs can affect elite athletes in real time. We haven't been able to touch this kind of data because clinical research can't ethically give high doses of anabolic steroids or experimental enhancers to healthy people just to study their effects. By removing those restrictions, the enhanced games could be one of the biggest open source experiments in human enhancement. Now, that doesn't sound too positive, but I tried to find something with positivity. Of course, that data would come at an ethical cost because these athletes, they're not being enrolled in controlled clinical trials where they're given informed consent forms, risk disclosures, and long-term medical monitoring. These athletes, they're not getting paid for participating in research, they're actually competing, and it's usually under really high pressure for prize money, fame, or sponsorships. That's not science, that's a spectacle, and without the proper oversight, the information we gather is not going to be reliable because it's based on dangerous and high-risk behavior. Worse, it's setting a precedent that we're willing to sacrifice long-term health for short-term knowledge. Now, the discoveries might be scientifically important, but they'd be built on the bodies of people who were never truly protected or properly studied, and that's not how ethical research is done, and that's not how medical progress should be made. Ironically, the enhanced games might end up proving the warnings that anti-doping agencies and medical professionals have been screaming out for decades. By removing restrictions and allowing open enhancement, we might finally see in the public view what unrestricted performance drug use really looks like, and not just in records broken, but bodies broken. If athletes start collapsing from heart failure or developing liver tumors, tendon ruptures, hormonal imbalances, then the spectacle is going to quickly shift. And the data becomes undeniable proof of what happens to the human body when you push it past its natural boundaries with synthetics. So if the enhanced games are successful in making pharmacology the new baseline of greatness, that could shift the entire spirit of sport. Athletic excellence wouldn't be the result of years of discipline, training, or mental resilience. It would be about who has the best access to drugs, doctors, or designer molecules. So talent and dedication would be replaced by capital and chemistry. This would make elite sport even more exclusive, reserved not for the hardest working, but for the best funded. And in that world, the dreams of young athletes to rise through hard work and grit starts to disappear. Who would want to dedicate their whole life to natural sport if all the gold medals go to the enhanced? So participation might decline, trust in competition could fade, and a dangerous message is sent that greatness is not earned, it is engineered. So when trying to break the limits of human potential, the enhanced games might actually break the integrity of sport itself. Again, the Olympics aren't anti-science, they don't reject all forms of enhancement or support. The modern athletes right now rely on many scientific tools. We've already talked about creatine, whey protein, electrolytes. Now what about vitamins and sleep tracking devices, all of which are legal, they're well studied, and they're proven to support performance without compromising health. These supplements aren't banned because they work within the body's natural systems, not against them, and that's the line that WADA and other governing agencies are trying to draw. Support what sustains the athlete, not overrides their biology. But the enhanced games threaten to blur that line entirely when we start mixing in steroids, stimulants, and synthetic hormones in with protein shakes and recovery drinks. We start confusing the distinction between safe supplementation and risky pharmacology. And that confusion isn't just dangerous for athletes, it's also dangerous for the people watching at home and mimicking from the sidelines. And if we're going to explore the frontier of human enhancement, it shouldn't come by as an accident from a sporting event. It should come by design with the full weight of science and safety behind it. Freedom, bodily autonomy, and scientific progress. But these questions shouldn't be answered in a giant media spectacle built on risk and illusion. They deserve to be answered through ethical clinical trials, through peer-reviewed science, in an environment where safety is the priority and not just entertainment. Thank you for watching this video. Click right here to learn about the biggest threat to your heart and right here to subscribe.